So I read a couple more chapters of A Map of Days, and aside from of course, having to skip over the shippy parts of Jacob and Emma, it's actually not that bad. It's a little slow driven, of course, and it's finally getting to the part where they're now starting to focus on Abe's past, which is kind of interesting. I will have to say this that there was this part that was really painful to read because we kind of had to go through this over and over and over again. And not just in the last book, but also in this book. A few times, actually. Where Jacob tries to explain to his parents about peculiars, his life, his grandfather's life, the whole shebang. And his parents think he's crazy, and then they start getting angry, and of course, Miss Peregrine walks in, and a few other characters come in, and then the mom loses it and runs downstairs into the kitchen and grabs a knife. And as she sees all these peculiars walk up to her, she's like waving this knife at this ring of people surrounding her until she freaks herself out into passing out. And honestly, the thing is, maybe this is just played up for drama in the in that chapter. But the only thing that might actually technically freak me out would be seeing Millard because he's invisible and everyone insists on him wearing clothes. So just to seeing a pair of fully fitted out clothes walking around or floating around might startle me. Don't get me wrong, I love my invisible boy Millard. But if I was freshly exposed to that sort of thing, it would startle the hell out of me. So, yes. But other than that, everyone else seems ordinary and normal. Aside from the fact that they're, from. Damn it, Sargi! Always trying to be in my spotlight. Everyone else is somewhat dressed up from a different time period. And then, after they put her down on the couch, Jacob has to calmly explain to his father everything. And then apparently, his father is like, oh, now it makes sense because I remember my dad used to go on his little trips, and I insisted on him taking me with him all the time, and he always said no until finally he took me with him. And let's just go ahead and say that he described it from his point of view, but in short, what happened was is that his father, woke up his son in the middle of the night uh, to go ahead and say, hey, we got to get the hell out of here. Because there was a hollow gas going out and they were going to attack them. And his Abe had to put his son in the car and told him to hide there and stay there. And they had to kill the hollow, and you know Jacob's father was freaking out, so he ran into the cornfield and passed out there. And Jacob's father had his mind partially wiped because Abe insisted on it for whatever reason. And then this is where it gets really, really bad. Because a my phone charger is being weird. Uh, Jacob's father, I don't even remember his name. Franklin, whatever. I mean, they're so unremarkably forgettable. It, and then there's like the where it feels like a coming out of the closet story, where you're coming out of the closet to an extremely homophobic person, where eventually the dad says you chose this. And it's the thing is that he literally didn't, because it's part of his biology, you know? Same thing with gay people and gender non-conforming people, of course. But this is pretty much this is just pretty much about, this isn't about LGBT rights, but it comes out sounding like that. This book isn't about that. It's and don't get me wrong, I do ship a couple of the characters together. Every time they bicker and argue, you're probably figuring out who I'm talking about. I'm not going to tell you anything, though. But I do ship a couple of the characters together because I like their banters. But it, it really sounds like a coming out of the closet story for Jacob and his parents rejecting him for it. And it's not supposed to. And I don't know. I know this is supposed to be like, because it's aimed at teens. This kind of comes out and is written off and feels like that. So people of all walks of life can relate to it that way. I just kind of don't like the way it was written off that way. So that was kind of my beef right there. It's, I feel like I should probably say a few more things. Oh, and then they're supposed to go clothes shopping because Jacob's really furious that his family won't accept him for who he is, and they would actually rather have their mind wiped of everything relating to peculiar stuff. So Miss Peregrine decides to have Jacob take some of the peculiar kids out clothes shopping. Instead, they take a detour to Abe's house, where apparently they go ahead and clean up his house, pay their respects. For some reason, the house is uh, for sale. Yeah, Jacob's parents. But at the same time, I mean, you kind of have to move on at some point, but. And apparently, they found out that there was like some sort of like safety shelter underneath the house. So, yeah. And apparently, there's like a logbook cataloging all the missions that Abe Portman went on to hunt hologhasts and whites, and even rescue peculiar kids and send them over to uh, flipping loops is what they're called, so that they can be sent there safely and be protected from the outside world of normal people. It's a really complicated concept to explain. Uh, Maybe read the books, but I'm not a huge fan of the books. But I mean, the fourth book is doing things a little bit nicely, cleaning up things as far as the Abe Portman thing, and since I have most of my favorite characters back, I am enjoying myself a little bit better. I'm enjoying all the jokes and the cracks and the comments that they're making around each other, towards each other. I I skim or not skim. I'm not skimming. I'm actually completely skipping over the Emma and Jacob, romance parts. So that's all I gotta say there, because I really don't enjoy how perfect a relationship it is. But I do kind of like the recent chapter that I read, because it did show like how uh you know J- Emma was kind of, she does care about Abe, but she cares about Jacob at the same time. But it's also like, I mean, it's not like she's trying to balance out her feelings for the past to Jacob. It's more like you know I don't know what to explain it as. There's a it's a I'm still in the process of reading it, but Jacob kind of, like, he knows that Emma loves him, but like he also knows that Emma was really sweet on Abe. So, and it's kind of like a thing that he kind of is a little bothered by, but he also like doesn't say anything, and wants to be supportive, because he knows that like going to the house and paying their respects and cleaning up the house, and wishing their goodbyes to Abe Portman was definitely something, not just for her, but for also Abe's friends. Back when Abe was younger before he left. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't totally Emma centric. It also had a few other characters, and it also showed that Enoch definitely has a softer side. So, and it was definitely a nice change of pace. And don't get me wrong, I do like when Enoch, kind of is being a smartass, especially when he's has someone to bounce off of. But I do also kind of understand when it's kind of going too far. So, but him, kind of showing that he does regret, if he was being too much of a, an SOB to Abe Portman in the past, whatever relationship they may have had. I did appreciate that, and I thought it was sweet to read. But yeah, I still haven't seen the movie. Maybe should get around to it. I don't know if it was probably a good choice for Samuel Jackson to play as in, but I keep getting told it was good, so I might as well give it a shot. I mean, might as well just torture myself a little bit more, whatever. So that's my review for the last few chapters. I'm at chapter 4 or 5. I don't care. Uh, of a map of days right now, and that's basically my briefing on it. I got two other books after that. They're not related, But I'm kind of looking forward to it. They're by Mackenzie Lee. One of them's called The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. And the sequel to that is The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy. And basically, they're kind of feministic and LGBT related, but not modern day uh, related in those messages, but more like Victorian age or earlier than that. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know how to explain it to you, but LGBT stuff in time periods or feminist or feminism in time periods where those things were either illegal or taboo kind of gets my muffin buttered. No, I'm kidding. But you get the meaning. I kind of eat that stuff up because it's just delicious. But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading those two books. And I got the Breaking Bad series, so I might as well be curious about the hype about that one because I'm a huge fan of Better Call Saul. Jimmy McGill's a riot. And then I still got Valley of Horses to read. Thankfully, that's not a library book. I'm just borrowing it. But yeah, that's my closing caption for tonight. And yeah, I'm gonna keep reading Map of Days, and things are kind of getting better. I mean, just if you hate Jacob and Emma as much as I do, just go ahead and skip over it. And literally, this story isn't much different without those two going gaga over each other. I kid you not. But yeah, keep reading, guys. Bye.